Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always, and I'm super pumped to have today's guest on the show, the one and only Adeniyi. Abiodun. He is the co-founder and CPO of Mysten Labs, a true product leader with experience spanning from financial services to crypto. He has also led engineering and product teams across big tech companies, including Oracle, VMware, and Facebook. Ever heard of them before? Prior to founding Mysten Labs, he also led many of Meta's R&D initiatives in blockchain and crypto, including the Diem, aka Libra network. Cannot wait to get into that, and the one and only Move programming language. I know we've been going back and forth for a hot minute. Super pumped to have you on, my man. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having me on. Really, it's a pleasure.
Pumped to have you. You said you're living in Cali right now, one of my favorite places on the planet. I mean, it has its ups and downs like everything else, but since that beautiful accent of yours, what brought you over to the West Coast in Cali?
Interestingly, I'm born in Nigeria, left when I was 7, went over to the UK. My dad is doing his PhD, so the whole family moved over to the UK and lived in London for almost all our life since then. In 2014, actually, if I say 2011, I found out about Bitcoin, and I built my first company in Bitcoin space in 2012. And that company actually, I moved that over here to California, and I've been in the Bay Area ever since.
San Fran, is it as bad as everyone says it is? Not bad. Beautiful, again, one of the most beautiful spots on the whole planet, but like the homeless, the shits on the street, all that kind of stuff, is it still?
It is all that and even more. Luckily, I live in the Bay. I live south of that. I'm in San Jose, so our office is in Palo Alto. We don't have to deal with San Francisco that regular, but it's a beautiful city. It's just a shame to where it's gone.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Walk me through, before we get into the crypto stuff and the Facebook stuff, tell me a little bit about childhood, growing up, a little bit of experience, uni, the whole 9 yards, and then we'll get in. Before we get into crypto, we got to touch a good amount of the show on the Facebook stuff, because I remember, everyone remembers, this was non-crypto people. Heck, my parents, friends and family, and everyone in the network. As soon as Facebook, now Meta, started talking about Diem and Libra, it was like, holy shit, this is going to change the world, blah, blah, blah. And obviously present day, not a whole lot has happened there, but to speak with someone who actually built that and was on that team is so incredible. So I can't wait to get into that. But before that, give us the whole 9 yards in regards to your childhood, where you went to uni, passions, just so myself and the listeners can get a little lay of the land here.
Yeah, so born to 2 Nigerian parents, grew up in Nigeria till I was 7. I have 3 siblings, 1 brother, 2 sisters. We moved over to the UK, actually started off in Scotland, where my dad was doing his PhD in Adeniyi University, then moved over to London, and where we spent most of our lives. I actually went to university in London. I studied at Queen Mary University, studied electronic engineering with computer science. I actually started my university degree doing physics, astrophysics, to be honest, and realized I was not going to make much money being an astrophysicist. I took the experience and said, okay, well, I need to do something that's actually going to make me some money. So I did electronic engineering. And after studying that, I actually went on to do a job that's very well aligned. I was a software engineer working with software and hardware. So I worked on hardware, putting hardware together for monitoring oil wells, and then the software that managed those systems as well. So I wrote all the software, including some of the operating system elements that was required. But that got me very into the world of hardware and software. But my passion ended up being mostly on the software side. So went over to work in banking to build risk systems, risk management systems for hedge funds and investment banks. Quickly after that, I went off to JP Morgan. I was building trading systems for credit risk, basically the credit derivatives, the stuff we call the things that cause the financial disasters many, many times over. But that was a lot of fun. I actually had a great time at JP Morgan. But during that time, I found out about Bitcoin. And then HSBC, when I was running software for managing risk for market makers and like the prime brokerage side of our business, I decided to build a Bitcoin mining company, interestingly.
What year was this when you built Bitcoin mining company?
I started mining Bitcoin in 2011, but I built my Bitcoin mining company in 2012. So I did pretty well in Bitcoin. I wish I didn't sell the majority of my Bitcoin. I probably won't be here. But, that got me the bug. Reading the paper, the Satoshi white paper, really, brought some things home about what I was doing in the world of finance, and I became enamored by what this tech could potentially do. It wasn't just the crypto side that interested me more than anything. It was actually more the decentralization aspect of having an infrastructure that could run by disparate organizations that don't have to trust each other, but can now have this decentralized trust. And it facilitates a whole heap of possibilities and I really wanted to get involved. And the way I knew how at the beginning was solving the problem of mining, because I was mining for myself. My friends were interested in mining. I just started running hardware, and eventually they asked me to run it for them. And then I started having equipment in data centers, and very quickly it became a scenario where I put up a website and people started paying me to mine on their behalf. And that started my world of crypto.
Who introduced you to Bitcoin?
I found it, interestingly, there was a colleague of mine that told me about it. And when I heard about it, I kind of ignored it because it just sounded it sounded kind of out of the world, right? The fact that you could solve this problem of trust seemed a bit out there. And I never delved into the details, so I read the paper myself. It was one of my colleagues at JP Morgan. And then at HSBC, I dug into it a lot more. And, at that point, I became convinced. I bought my first Bitcoin. I started mining it, and it became like a drug. I became addicted.
You were hooked.
Yeah, completely hooked.
Hook, line, and sinker. Now, you also worked for some massive tech companies like Oracle and VMware.
Yeah.
We're going to skip those bad boys. Let's jump right into Facebook, right into Meta. What did that call sound like? Walk me through that whole process of you, I assume, getting poached and joining Meta's R&D team for initiatives in blockchain and crypto. And then walk me through everything that happened with Diem, Libra. And again, just for the listeners back at home, I forget exactly what year this was, but this was, I want to say 2020 perhaps, but this was like the talk of the town. This news was insane. You had massive headlines. Facebook launching their own cryptocurrency will wipe out everyone else's, blah, blah, blah. Facebook launching their own blockchain. The hype was real. It was hype city, population. You guys walk me through everything that happened. I can't wait to get into this.
Sure. I remember when the news came out that Facebook was launching its own blockchain. I was blown away that was even a possibility, knowing the kind of company Facebook was. I would never work in Facebook unless it was something related to crypto, right? I was at that point working at actually that was at Oracle. Then I moved over to VMware to work on their new consensus algorithms that they were building for their own enterprise blockchain service. They ended up taking one of our best scientists, Dalia Malki, who's a very good friend of mine. And I dug into the project a lot more. And from my conversations with her, it seemed like it was legit. They did want to make their own blockchain. They did want to have something that others can use, making it as easy as sending email. It should be that easy sending money. That was the ultimate goal. So I interviewed at Facebook specifically for the role. In fact, I was recommended by one of the VPs there to come in to help on the project. And I made it through the interview stage, and that's when they exposed what they were really working on in detail. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to get in on this project. If there's anything I work on in my career, I've done all these amazing things in crypto, but if I could help Facebook or work on this Facebook project and launch, a global chain for everybody to use for value transfer, I had to be in that project, whether you pay me or not.
100%.
But I made it in, and I got to work on, I actually came in to work on decentralized identity first. Very quickly, I realized that was not a priority. I shut down that effort quite quickly, and I looked for a team to work with within the Libra project. Evan was leading the R&D work at Meta. So Evan, for listeners in, is the CEO of Mysten Labs. He built the entire R&D arm at Libra that built the blockchain. The programming language Move was developed because we took a look across all ecosystems, across all programming languages, at what could be used to build safe smart contracts. Because if you're going to tell a regulator that you're launching a chain for value or for money, and you want to give good assertions that this chain is secure, we want to go way above the curve of what people were doing and actually offer forward guarantees. So we had to invent Move. That was Sam's idea, and Sam is the CTO of Mysten Labs. We came up with amazing crypto technology, things that basically allows you to email money to people directly, allows you to basically have more compressed signatures, to do things in a more parallelizable way. A lot of that work was Kostas Charkias. He actually is our chief cryptographer at Mysten Labs. So the brains behind the work we're doing at Libra from a technical side all came to Mysten. George Denizes, his startup was actually acquired by Facebook to help build out Libra. And he's behind all the wonderful work we're doing in R&D, especially on our consensus algorithms and things related. He's one of the most famous scientists in Greece when it comes to even just period as a whole, right? And I feel we have a really unique team. I was a product lead. I led a lot of the work we did from a product side in R&D. My strong point is turning hard science or hard technical marvels into product. I care about consumers. I really want things that consumers can use, and I can realize things that are very technical in nature and how to boil it down to something the average person can use day in, day out. And I think that team is so unique in crypto. all the different expertise in languages, compilers, crypto, consensus algorithms, products, marketing. It's that massive element of diversity and skill that really makes Mysten and Sui very, very unique.
Geez, talk about a sales pitch. Holy. Not bad. I mean, I sort of want to throw some money at this now. Yeah, I mean, yes, folks, as stated many times, this is not an investing show. No financial advice. Do your own research as always. But holy shit, what a pitch that was. Before we get more into Sui, let's just go back on the Facebook side of things again.
Yep.
Did you guys have any conversations with Zuck? Were there any classic Facebook ritual stories, you know, the crazy perks you guys had, the work-life balance, anything like that? Like, walk me through the actual days of building it. Were you guys, I don't know, perhaps I'm super wrong here, but I feel like you guys were almost alienated in the sense that you had 99% of Facebook working on non-crypto stuff, then you had the crypto and blockchain guys. Like, walk me through everything that happened there. Give us some good stories here.
It might sound crazy, but Facebook's probably one of the best companies in the world you can work for. It's got great engineering culture, great product culture. It's got a drive for growth that I've never seen anywhere else. And everything is scale, scale, scale. Forget small things. It's all about scale.
Big things, yeah.
It had amazing benefit packages. You know, you walk through the main campus, it felt like Disneyland. It literally was modeled after Disneyland. I kid you not. You walk there, there's free ice cream, there's free food everywhere. You want to be there. You want to enjoy it. And then you want to build community there. And I think it's a great place to work. And it's a great model for people to build across. Libra itself was a project that was very highly regarded within the company, but we were separated from the majority of Facebook. We had our own building that was private that you needed a special key card to access. Our pass allowed it anywhere else in the company, but no one could get into the Libra building because of things that worked on were very secretive in nature. And, you know, we had a payment element of what we're doing that we wanted to be sufficiently distanced from Facebook, the prime business itself, which is the right way to set things up. So there's a lot of allure to the majority of Facebook that wanted to actually work on Libra. It was one of the highest brow projects that you actually want to work on in a company. Then I felt like we worked with some of the smartest people I've ever met with in my life. Love work with Kevin Wheel, who's VP of product for Libra. Marone Kolbecki, love work with David Marcus. These are some of the smartest people I got to work with across the world and on this project. Still in contact with the majority of these folks. I classify them as great friends. And I felt like we really built a great culture of innovation, a great culture of trying to solve problems that we really cared about. Anybody you speak to on a Libra project was very, very passionate about the mission.
Yeah, you need that.
You can't do it and not be passionate. There were easier ways to make money, easier things to do.
100%.
Disappointment, right? Like, you had to be sold into the vision. And I think if you spoke across the board, did a really good job of selling the mission and the vision, and that's really what hooks people in. And, you know, I loved every moment on working on the project. I mean, look, the thing that sucked, right, in reality is we never got to launch it, never got to see the light of day.
Why?
Look, you can classify it as some of it was regulatory. And if I had to classify it, the reality is you can look at Facebook history on privacy, you can name it something related to that. But I quite frankly think there is a fear, right? Overnight, 2 billion people have a bank account. That is bigger than any country in the world. It makes Facebook probably the most powerful company in the world, period, right? And I think there's an element of fear that is probably well-founded, to be quite honest. And I understand that concern. I think there's a world where the infrastructure or the tech can be separated from the company, from the Facebook, the company itself, right? I think maybe Libra launched that as a smaller company would not have had as much scrutiny, right? But I think the bar that Facebook needed to meet to get it out the door, even though it was managed in a decentralized form, in the sense that there are multiple, pretty much a conglomerate or a coalition of companies that came together, or consortium is the right word to coin here, came together to put Libra together and launch it. That the Facebook story was always behind it, and it was very, very hard to let to get away from that. No matter whether you have someone on the board that's not related to Facebook in any way, shape, or form, you do all the best you can on the code to make sure that it's highly secure. You do everything you can on the compliance front. I think just that narrative was strong enough to really derail the project, which is a shame. You know, if you're working on something for like years and years and you poured your passion and energy into it and to see it not go live, it really hurts. But I think the reality of it is, even since the project has been disbanded, multiple people have left and succeeded highly since then. I think that's a great success story.
100%. Quick question for you here. If now, no longer Facebook, if Meta wanted to flip the switch and launch away, like, I assume that, I mean, it's Meta. There's no way they let you guys take any of that tech. I mean, there's no doubt it's still in your heads, and you brought a lot of that over to your current endeavor. But if they wanted to flip the switch and have that, 2 billion person bank and payment rail system, could they not do that tomorrow if they really wanted to?
They could do that, and they don't need a blockchain to do that. I mean, they can leverage any chain to make that happen. The problem is Meta looking at the scale that they're at and looking at all the solutions out there, nothing scaled. Nothing,
Right.
even Libra, Marvin, our argument, we built it, right? Libra isn't scalable to manage Facebook scale, right? So the way in which we solve the problem is you go through a VASP or virtual as a service provider to transact, and they will submit a transaction on your behalf. That is one way to
Gotcha.
queue transactions. Whereas when we left Facebook, we thought, okay, now we know what we know. We built the system. We know the mistakes we made. We know the shortcuts we had to take to make it to market. What would it take for the Facebook of the world to launch their own virtual bank on chain, where billions of people can literally use this thing, and it scales to the scale that Facebook cares about? So we took those same engineering principles that we've used to build highly scalable systems, the most highly scalable systems that power billions of users day in, day out, and we've applied that to SweetTech. SweetTech is very unique in the sense that it's the only technology that's horizontal scalable. People talk about TPS. That doesn't matter, right? Honestly, that's a stupid metric. What matters is if I demand more bandwidth or I demand more capacity, can you provide that, right? And still maintain the system integrity at scale. Yes, Sui is the only one that actually does that. And that's the design principle we put behind Sui.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, is that's actually a great point. And I mean, heck, you're gonna be guest number 273, I believe. I don't think anyone has ever brought that up on the show before. Is TPS such a vanity metric or such an important metric, bunny ears, just because it's quantifiable, because it's measurable? Whereas with your argument in regards to, needing bandwidth when it's available is more subjective. Is that why TPS is so sexy in people's minds?
Yeah, I mean, so imagine this. You go to Google and you're a multi-billion-dollar company and you say you want to launch an app. And Google tells you we can only support 100 apps per second. Or we can only support 10,000 apps per second. Doesn't matter what number you tell that business, but the fact that you have a cap on that number is a freaking red flag, right? That's a red flag. So anyone telling you our TPS is this or X or Y, you should run very, very fast away from that solution. It means there's no scale. And all of crypto, every blockchain, you name it, Solana, Aptos, Avalanche, you name it, all have that problem, right? So our story was like, we cannot build a system like that. Our system effectively needs to take that story away. Yes, even if we had to compare our system with existing systems, it's already orders of magnitude faster, right? But we don't want to stop there. That doesn't matter. What matters is our system, you can throw in more hardware and it has an unlimited TPS. That is what the Googles and the Facebooks and the massive organizations of the world want to hear. Can you deal with that issue? In the cloud, we call it like shared tenancy or multi-tenancy, right? So shared tenancy is where everybody shares a single resource or shares a single machine. Blockchains see that all as, a world where they're all sharing a single machine. And, you're really trying to get multiple people to leverage a single resource, which is really a multi-tenant system, but it's built as a single tenant utility, right? Whereas Sui is really multi-tenant for multiple users, right? Like anyone that writes a smart contract, my smart contract performance does not affect yours, right? And that's why we add more machines, more smart contracts can be processed in parallel, right? So it's really a multi-tenant system, not a single tenant system, pretending to be a multi-tenant system. So we have unlimited scalability. We can keep scaling and add more TPS. It sounds like BS, but reality is you don't question Google. Google says, keep bringing more apps, and Google figures it out.
Yeah.
We have the same infrastructure. And that's why I think we're built different. And our ideology and what we believe is required for the ecosystem is completely different from others.
I love that. We are absolutely buzzing right now, but unfortunately, Adeniyi, we need to take a quick break and give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XPT. And when we get back, we are going to keep buzzing everything SUI related. Get your popcorn ready, folks. Until then, huge shout out to Prime XPT, longtime friends of CryptoNews.com and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. Prime XPT offers a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. After making your first deposit, 50%, that is 50 of that first deposit, will be credited to your account as a bonus that can be used as additional collateral to open positions. Again, the promo code is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now, back to the show. Let's talk Sui. Let's go nitty gritty Sui. But before, I'm gonna start with perhaps a bit of a comedic sprinkle on the cake. Ronaldo, I'm sure you've seen the Sui. Everyone loves it. When I first saw you guys, that's the first thing I thought of. I'm not even a huge football fan, but again, it's part of pop culture now. Everyone does it. How often do you guys get that? You must get it a little bit.
All the time. I mean, sui is Japanese for water, right? In fact, it's in many cultures, that word sui means water, not just in Japanese. And the reason why we chose or coined that phrase, or we use sui, is because when we're building a system, we want a system that's boundless, doesn't have a limit. And water, in our view, has
water,
no bound or limit. So be like water in the large scheme of things. So yeah, it wasn't for the Ronaldo sui, but actually that's been quite helpful, interestingly, as well. But I'm a big Ronaldo fan.
You guys must get some residual advertising and marketing from that, eh?
All the time, free, and we love it.
How hard is it, like, snagging a bunch of 3-letter domains? And not just 3-letter domains, but like when you create a business, everyone's always said, less is more, less is more, less is more. Were there really any other good candidates for a name, or was it just like, you know what, this is exactly what we want to go with? We're the bandwidth kings of blockchain and crypto. The name sounds clean, it's sexy. Like, was there any other options, or was it just Sui it is, fuck the rest?
Having a diverse team really helped, right? Because there's no way, I would have figured out that name or most of the people in the company. We have a very diverse team, and that helps. We had a lot of terrible names. Like, I don't want to go through the names that we have. Never ask Sam Black, our CTO, to pick names. He's terrible at thinking. But, we had terrible names. I think the one name we had came up with Sui, and everybody immediately knew it was the right name. Like, it's always great when it was like, that's actually it. It's great. And I think we've been very, it's hard to find 3-letter names for sure, but this one I felt was a bit of luck. It's quite a bit of luck. Yeah.
I love that. So one of the questions that I usually ask, and it's a bit of a cop-out question, is the founding story, but I think people can put 2 and 2 together here. You and a bunch of absolutely incredible, very switched on and smart people from the Facebook team, from the Diem team, came over and formed Sui. And again, you guys are a bit of a solution for the unbanked, preventing fraud, capital mismanagement, whole 9 yards. What makes Sui unique? Because there's a bunch of companies that are trying to do the not exact same, but similar niche of crypto that you guys are. And I love when myself and the listeners can sort of know, okay, we have a couple thousand blockchains right now. We all have our ideas of what blockchains and cryptocurrencies fit into bucket X, Y, and Z. What bucket do you guys fit into? What problems are you looking to solve? And how do you differentiate from the competitors?
Yeah, lots to unpack there. I think the thing that makes Sui unique, one, is a team. Our team background, I think, is unparalleled to anyone in crypto. We've actually systems that people use day in, day out. And I think it's hard to say that of any existing team in Web3. That allows us to come in with a new lens of what's required for the next stage of crypto. And I think we're talking about bringing broadband to crypto. Like, we are fiber optic. And I think 56K is what we have today in most of crypto. And our goal, if you create more bandwidth, you have more interesting apps. Now we have Netflix, we have Amazon, we have wonderful applications that can be built now. I think in the world of dial-up, we are very restricted, but it's still successful and it's done really, really well. But I think that next step to bring in 1 billion users needs builders who are accustomed to building things for the next 1 billion users, right? And I'm happy to talk through some of the tech. Some of the things also that's very unique about Sui is our view on like scale and gas. One, we think gas should not be this number that goes up and down like a yo-yo, right? And should not be spiking depending on demand, right? The fact that 500 people is using the network and 2,000 people using the network should not change my price. Just like when I go and use Amazon or a website, they don't change my fees depending on the traffic from other people that have nothing to do with me. So Sui is designed to have flat pricing dollar-wise. So Sui is the only network where gas would always be a flat number dollar-wise. In fact, the gas will probably go down over time as we find more efficiency in hardware, right? But from a dollar perspective as a user, gas should always be the same. That is a unique element of Sui. It's object-based. So most developers in the world write in object-oriented languages. So the idea that everything is an object, my phone is an object, my pen is an object, that is a paradigm that human beings are accustomed to, not bits and bytes, which most programming languages you find in Ethereum or Solana will drive you to. I can have a smart contract and I could throw an object into it, and I can use that object in smart contract and pass it back out and respect all the rules around that object. That is very SWI unique. And we believe SWI has a shortest learning curve of any blockchain because the programming language is very accustomed to what every other developer does. I think in a world of Web3 where there are only really about 15,000 devs in Web3, that is less than departments in Facebook, I always say, right? Like of developers in Facebook. There are 9 million JavaScript developers. We want to have a language that 9 million JavaScript developers can tend to. So every mindset we have is scale. How do people build faster, cheaper, leaner in the ways that make sense, right? Also, we don't have a max TPS, as I mentioned. And that's also there because of our object structure. Because everything is an object in SWI, we statically know it is something that's contention versus not. So because of that, it means we don't have to queue everything up in a queue just to process transactions, which is a bottleneck of every other chain. In SWI, I know that my transaction dealing with me sending money to you has nothing to do with someone doing land sales in Magic Kingdom or wherever it may be, right? So there are two different events. They should be queued separately. They have nothing to do with each other. We can still parallelize them. And the more machines we have, the more transactions we can do. So it's unique. The most unique element of SWI is the team and our mindset in how we build. Everything we do is augmented towards growth. And the tech itself is very unique. We have something we've launched recently. Oh, before I go into ZK login, sponsored transactions, we think also the idea of gas is pretty much stupid for most users, right? Like the fact that I want to onboard into a game and you say, go and download a wallet, first download a wallet, then go and buy some token, and then come back and then onboard. Well, we know from our experience in building systems for major organizations that that flow doesn't fly for 99.999% of use cases. So if you want to onboard games, you want to onboard, things that people really want to use day in, day out, remove that friction. And there are two pieces of technology that SWI uniquely has that is ingrained in the protocol itself that does not need middleware for it to work. One of them is sponsored transactions, which means accounts can freely transact in the SWI blockchain without any concept of gas, but it's paid by another account on the app and it's completely transparent to the user. You're just using the blockchain, which is more like SaaS. Separately, we have something called ZK login, which is very unique and is only possible on SWI. And what we do is we effectively allow you to use any existing OpenID account that you have in Web2 to authenticate an account on SWI in a decentralized way. What I mean by this is you don't need to sign with some third-party service or have someone custody keys on your behalf for it to work or have some SaaS agreement. No, you take your existing Google account, you basically use that to create a zero knowledge proof and you have an account on chain instantly. And a single API allows users to do that. Now, the most important thing is this means any website in the world that allows logging with Google, logging with Facebook, logging with Twitch, which is the majority of sites of the world that basically can now serve billions of people across the world with assets natively on SWI. Now, it means anybody in the world with a Google account, a Facebook account, WeChat, anybody with an existing Web2 account that supports OpenID, which is a myriad of them, has a SWI account, which means SWI is probably going to be the highest growing chain when it comes to reaching Web2 users than any other in the space, right? What's important about that is now imagine a world where you have a global Venmo. I know your email address. I can simply write a transaction on SWI to your email at whatever.com.
So badly needed.
Yes, only you can claim it, right? Like if you don't claim it, the funds are either locked or the user can claim it back if they choose a withdrawal or a return mechanism in the contract, right? So it means I could send any asset in the world. If previously I was delivering tickets, concert tickets using email. Now I can deliver them using SWI. I simply do a mass delivery by email on SWI. People receive their assets and it's completely encrypted. And they can transfer those to people directly without having, like, how do you share a ticket today, right? And you can even build secondary markets where if you want to transfer, here is a royalty fee that's required for secondary transfers. That's enforceable. Now, programmable assets, I think, are going to be the future. I think SWI is set up to do that at the scale that's not being seen. So you imagine an experience in SWI where you don't have to worry about gas. You don't have to worry about wallets. You don't have to worry about private keys. You simply use your email account or whatever account you have. You can use that to send value to anyone in the world that you already know or are friends with. That is the use case that we care about. And that's the use case that SWI enables uniquely at a scale that's not been seen before. So you don't have to worry about high gas fees. Don't have to worry about scale. I think the kind of user profile or builder profile you're going to see on SWI will be inherently Web2. It's going to take us to, we're not concentrated on stealing market share from existing Web3 chains, which we are actually doing really well. Sui is the highest growing chain by TVL. There's non-EVM related today. I think we just surpassed some of the chains that have been around for like 2 to 3 years. And we'll continually grow that, but our interest is growing the pie, adding net new users in Web3 that have never used Web3. But more importantly, we do not want them to know anything about Sui or tokens. We just wanted to know that they're using the infrastructure, how you choose to build on Sui or build using the Sui set of APIs, because it offers you this flexibility and this composability that just storing it on a database doesn't offer you.
I absolutely love that. Speaking of the, of the new generation and Web2 users, we have to discuss the Gen Zers and their prominence of the digital economy, more specifically gaming. Every single one of these Gen Zers, I'm generalizing here, 95% of them are absolutely addicted to video games and are on their phones 24/7. I have a cousin, she's absolutely incredible. She has more friends on her Roblox than she does IRL. And now, I'm talking these are good friends of hers. This isn't fugazi. When I was her age, my best friends, I was playing hockey, soccer, running, causing mischief, doing dumb shit in the schoolyard, running around streets, blah, blah, blah. They're online 24/7. You and the team understand the importance of gaming and the digital economy that the newer generations are a part of. How are you guys planning on onboarding the millions and millions and eventually hundreds of millions of these Gen Zers and the new economy folks?
Yeah, I mean, you make the point, and that's clear. For us, gaming is the use case to bring the next billion users into Web3. It is by and large a way to do that. And the reason why it makes sense, gaming is always ahead on the technology curve. They innovate faster and they always adopt technology.
So true.
And on top of that, when it comes to monetization, figuring out monetization, think about the free-to-play model. Gaming, where we were able to really experiment openly and be willing to fail, whereas other industries are way slower to adopt this kind of tech, those kind of models. I think gaming for us is our biggest focus. And then next, finance and commerce. So if you think about what we've done, we have 60 studios signed up to launch games on Sui. And these are from billion-dollar companies all the way to experienced studios who have been building games with some of the largest companies in the world. So most of these games are high-quality Web2 games that users are already accustomed to the element of ownership, right? Ownership in games is already something users are accustomed to. And now Sui frees up that ownership model where they could do more interesting things that previously weren't possible, whereas when they're just storing the assets on AWS or GCP. So that's what we're very excited about. I think that's going to be where the hundreds of millions of users come from, all the way to the billions, because they're using it for extended life, the shelf life of the game. They're using it to enable them to charge closer to what the customer is willing to pay. They're using it to also build new form of engagement and retention that wasn't possible, and also new forms of marketing and targeting that just wasn't possible previously. That was very, very expensive to do. So it isn't an over-financialization of games, which I've seen others do to their detriment, because I think it's one thing to lose a game. It's another thing to lose a game and lose money at the same time. But it's making the games more fun, more engaging for people to play, and keeping you around in the game a lot longer, because it's a more fun and inviting way for you to play and earn assets. So that's why gaming is huge for us. In fact, 3 of the largest gaming companies in Korea, who pretty much led the way in free-to-play models, are building on Sui already. And we have some of the most famous gaming studios in the world building on Sui. So there is a massive portfolio of games coming onto Sui. Even some in Hollywood, games from major Hollywood titles are coming onto Sui exclusively that I'd love to share in the future as well.
I love that. Well, we're definitely going to have you on for round 2. A couple more things, and then we'll wrap up. We are getting a little tight for time here. You discussed big brands, corporate brands, more specifically how they are currently partnering with Sui. I mean, we've heard the song and dance for 4 or 5 years now, how, every Fortune 500 company is not going to have a choice but to join the blockchain world, blah, 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 joining Web3, blah, blah, blah. I have seen very few actual use cases that are legit and have traction and have the magic word of crypto utility. You guys are actually moving the needle in this space. You got to get into this before we let you go.
Oh, yeah. So you see a lot of press releases all the time, this blockchain company is partnering with X and Y, and nothing really happens. Well, you read into it, and it's really a contract that you're signing to pay the vendor to do something that I'm just saying, there's a lot of hype that we see. We don't like wasting money, and we don't like to do partnerships that don't make sense. I think our goal for us is to work with major brands, marquee brands, to solve problems that are key to the way they do business. If it's not an important thing for them, we're not interested in working on those projects. But if something related to their core business. And I think one of the biggest areas that we're seeing companies care about more is fandom, right? Patronage. That's the stuff that really matters with the big brands. We're doing work, we're official sponsors and technology partners with Oracle Red Bull. We're going to be building a lot of fan-based engagement tools for that ecosystem, for people to own assets, to trade assets, to basically level up and use NFTs and tokens and even digital assets as a way to create fans, or at least build fandom in a more engaging way that's previously possible. And this extends to multiple brands across the board, right? So it's really the utility element of using the chain to solve business problems that we care about. Because what do we care about as a chain, right? Like, we care about, TPS. We want demand for the block space, which is infinite in Sui. So the more block space, the more revenue the network makes for the participants of the network. We care about the daily active users. We think daily active users will come from massive existing ecosystems who can be onboarded into Sui. And if you have a world where they don't have to worry about wallets, they don't have to worry about private keys, they don't have to worry about gas, they can onboard into our ecosystem very quickly and gain value in the ecosystem very quickly without the friction or the barrier that Web3 brings in most cases. So there'll be a lot more partnerships we announce to that effect, but these partnerships are specifically focused on business use cases that are paramount to their core business.
I love that. Adeniyi, what an episode, man. You absolutely put my head in a blender in the best of ways possible. I got a lot of homework to do. This isn't a show where guests come on and pitch their product. And you didn't do that, but you sort of did just because of how well-spoken you are and were and everything you said about Sui. It was just, this was an absolute treat. I really appreciate you coming on, and non-negotiable, you must come on for round 2, especially at the pace that you and the team are moving and grooving. This was a lot of fun and we barely scratched the surface. Before we let you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you personally and Sui online and on socials?
Hey folks, I'm on Twitter. My username is Emanabio, EMANABIO. And you can check us out at sui.io. Very easy, SUI.io.
What's the ideology behind the Twitter bio, or Twitter handle rather?
My Christian name is Emmanuel. So Emmanuel Abiodun, Iman Abio, EMANABIO. But I go by Adeniyi most of the time anyway.
Gotcha, love it. What a treat, man. Absolutely incredible episode. Can't wait to have you on for round 2.
It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Folks, what an episode with Adeniyi Abiodun, the co-founder and CPO of Mysten Labs. He was absolutely on fuego this episode. We'd love to see it. Dropping knowledge bombs all over the place. What an episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, it would mean the world to my team and I if you would subscribe to the team. Love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Eustace, my amazing sound editor, you're the GOAT. Appreciate you as always. And back to the listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.